Welcome to Meet the Candidates. I'm Eric Gersey, a senior at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School and your current student member of the Board of Education. Before you meet the two candidates to serve as your next representative, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to represent you for the last 2 terms. It has been a tremendous honor and privilege, and while the role of the SMOB has been extremely demanding, it has also been so rewarding. Meeting many of you in your schools, hallways, and classrooms has been incredibly inspiring. Hearing what's on your mind, your ideas, beliefs, priorities, and hopes has shaped my agenda. And together, we've worked hard to make real progress. From reimagining testing practices, to expanding technology, to bolstering communications networks, and transitioning them into the 21st century with enhanced social media, video updates, letter outreach, and our new website. This year also marks a transition to new Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Jack Smith, whom I played an active role in hiring last year and who has partnered with the Board of Education to bring a laser-like focus on closing the achievement and opportunity gaps which persist in our community. Serving as the SMOB also involves keeping up with movements in the legislative and budgetary worlds. Last year, after advocating for decades for a law that would expand SMOB voting rights to be virtually equal with the adult members of the Board of Education, we were able to push the bill over the finish line. And this year was the first during which I was able to vote on boundaries, collective bargaining, and capital and operating budgets, all of which profoundly affect our lives daily. The Board of Education also passed a budget in 2016 that lowered class size for the first time in years and provided more resources devoted to helping all of us succeed in school. And this year's proposed funding plan contains exciting features, including expanding extracurricular activity programs, career readiness preparation, and the opportunity to take the SAT or ACT for free. As you decide which one of the two candidates you want to represent you next year, look for a candidate's record working on your behalf, his stance on the issues, and his commitment to working with the other 7 members of the Board of Education to make a real difference for you. But also recognize that just as you've not agreed with every action I have taken, you will not always fall in line with the next SMOB. And that's okay, because the student voice is all about advocating from the wonderfully diverse points of view our student body benefits from, grappling with the issues from disparate perspectives, and ultimately elevating those perspectives. Because this election is a reminder in the power placed in you to bring about change. Now, let's meet the candidates to be the 40th student member of the Board of Education. Let's meet your two candidates. The first candidate is Mr. Alex Abrasimov. Alex is an 11th grade student at Richard Montgomery High School, where he participates in the International Baccalaureate program. He is the founder of the Student Union, a county-wide student advocacy group, and is a longtime fighter for better school lunches. He has repeatedly called for the need for change at the county-wide level and used his platform to expand the student voice. The second candidate is Mr. Matt Post. Matt is an 11th grade student at Sherwood High School. He serves as the county SGA's vice president and the SMOB chief of staff, where he works alongside policymakers in the state legislature, the county council, and the Board of Education. In these roles, Matt has helped embed consent education into the health curriculum, changed the county's stance on mental health issues, and fought for full funding of our schools. Now that you've met the two candidates, let's hear their points of view. We're going to go through a series of questions, and both the candidates will have a minute to answer each of them. The first question is, for years, the achievement gap has greatly affected students of color in our county. Although MCPS has attempted to address the problem through various initiatives, what solutions would you propose to close the achievement gap? Well, Alex, you'll answer first.
To all of you watching, my question is this. How long have you felt neglected by our county? How can a student going to a school that is old and run down without even working air conditioning and broken down bathrooms? How can that student be expected to achieve as high as a student going to a perfectly running building? How can a student going to a school with over 1,000 people but only 5 counselors be expected to achieve without that much needed support? I will tackle that issue, the institutional issue of the achievement gap, head on. Sure, pre-K is important, but I will make sure to not forget our middle and high school students, which is why I will work individually with each of your schools to create a plan that works best for you, because nobody knows your school better than you do. I will address the achievement gap by finally increasing the funding for our Minority Scholars Program and other achievement-based programs that have been fighting for this issue for a long time. Thank you.
Matt, let's hear your thoughts.
Well, simply put, our county has to do more to level the playing field for all of us, regardless of our race or socioeconomic status. And make no mistake, every year that this gap persists is a stain on this county's record of excellence. That's why we need a comprehensive approach to ensuring that all of us have a fair shot. The first step is investing in early education like pre-K and Head Start, so that everybody can enter elementary school with the same skills that they need to succeed. Our next step has to be providing more economic support to every grade level by pitching in for AP and IB exams and administering a universal magnet test at the elementary level so cost isn't a barrier to opportunity. Our third step should be providing more access to those kinds of opportunities. We need to sufficiently provide for our ESOP programs, offer free test prep classes, and embed a Minority Scholars Program into every high school and middle school. In this county, where you come from or what you look like should never define your outcome.
Last year, the Board of Education voted on a new testing policy which included the elimination of final exams and the transition over to quarterly assessments, commonly known as RQAs. What is your stance on this new exam policy? We're going to start with Matt for this question.
Well, the problem with RQAs right now is that they're taking up to 3 days in some classes, and they're either too hard or not reflective of what's been learned over the quarter. So while I do believe there needs to be a change, I strongly believe it should come from our ideas, the students' ideas, the people who are actually going to be affected by the decision. We need to find a consensus assessment and grading policy that prepares us for college, limits grade inflation, and is still fair. I plan on holding focus groups over the summer so we can arrive at those changes and be ready to implement them the following school year. What I'd like to see happen eventually is for us to move away from these Scantron-based standardized assessments and embrace project-based learning. When there's more than one answer and more than one way to arrive at an answer, we're better prepared to solve problems in the real world and avoid the racial and socioeconomic biases of standardized testing.
Alex?
First of all, I fully support reducing all standardized testing, but the RQAs as they stand are not the solution. Our students are heavily over-tested, and the RQAs do not represent their best light of their achievements. I propose project-based learning in every school to be implemented to make sure that you can be tested based on your unique strengths. Whether you're in physics or basketball or arts or humanities, your skills should be highlighted and you should be taught not just to the test, but actually taught a legitimate foundation for your future. Let's finally begin teaching not just to the test, but individually highlighting every student's unique traits. Because the point of education in our country is not just to teach to the test, is not just to get a grade, it's to provide a foundation for the rest of your lives.
Great. Thanks for your responses. What do you see as your role as the student member of the board, and how will you innovate the position? How will you be different from all the past student members of the board? And for this question, we're going to start with Alex.
I will redefine the role of SMOB itself. Year after year, you are promised change, and what do you get? Nothing. You can trust that I will keep every single one of my promises because I have done so in the past. Whether it be building the largest ever student union, getting food trucks to my school lunches, making sure to fight against the dress code, making sure to fund all of our programs, I have gotten all of these things done in the past. I have made sure my goals were achieved. If I win SMOB, I will bring progress countywide. You will finally get the Wi-Fi unblocked, you will finally see cell phones at middle school lunches, and you will finally see that your school lunches are getting better than ever. I am confident in my ability to create change. If you elect me, I will start going on day one.
And Matt, your thoughts?
Well, I'll be a SMOB that gets things done. I truly believe things like removing the Wi-Fi blocks in social media and allowing every middle schooler to use their cell phone during lunch and investing in early education are all possible with the right SMOB. And my experience as the SMOB's Chief of Staff and Vice President of the County SGA have really prepared me to start fighting for you on day one. I've already been to the state legislature, to the county council, and to the board table. I built relationships with state delegates, advocated alongside county council members, led student demonstrations at board hearings. I understand what it takes to secure funding and push policy and get things done. But the most important lesson that I've learned advocating is that in order to create change, we all need to come together around a common cause. Our voices are most powerful when students from every background, in every grade, and every school advocate together. As SMOB, I will always work with you to create the change that we want to see.
Great, thanks for your thoughts. While they are often necessary, budget cuts can also reduce funding from essential programs and academic areas, including STEM, art, and music classes. What programs or academic areas do you believe need to be expanded throughout our county? Matt, we'll start with you.
We need to invest in the career pathways that cultivate our interests and prepare us for life after high school. Not all of us are going to go to college, so what we learn in school should be applicable to the real world and to securing a living wage job. I'd like to see one career pathway in every high school and middle school by 2020. There should be a class for aspiring car mechanics and engineers and doctors and lawyers and other pursuits. This county should leave us career ready, college ready, and life ready. Eventually though, or in terms of funding is a broad subject, I'd like to see us prioritize equity when we distribute resources in the county. That means giving more funds to the schools and activities that need it the most. Cutting extracurricular or arts resources should never be a first resort, and during the budget process, I'm going to fight to restore funds to our music and theater programs which have been neglected in recent years. What has always made this county exceptional is that we are well-rounded students, and our allocation of funds should reflect that value.
And Alex?
I'm against cutting educational spending, period. In fact, we need to increase elective options for middle school students. Whether it be computer sciences, more athletics, to music and arts, all of you should be able to pursue your passions, pursue the career choices that you want, from the moment that you enter middle school until the day that you graduate high school. That is my strong belief, and I will fight for that. I will fight for more inclusion and more equitable spending in schools that have been lacking that spending the most. We need to prioritize the schools that have been neglected around the county, and that is what I will be fighting for. And also, as we know, technology is our future, which is why I propose hands-on learning with more robotics classes, technology classes, as well as making sure that all of our schools have the tablets and Promethean boards and all of the equipment that you need to have a proper technological education. No student should have to go to a school which is not funded to the fullest extent which is possible. We should make sure that all of our programs are continued to be expanded because that's the kind of county we are. Thank you.
Great, thanks for both of your thoughts. In 2015, the Board of Education voted to move back school start times by 20 minutes at both the middle school level and the high school level. However, there have recently been community efforts to move start times back to the original schedule from 2015. What is your stance on the current bell time schedule? And for this question, we're going to start with Alex.
Let's just keep them as they are right now. It's completely honest. We can shift them around all we want, but in the end, that just takes away the bigger issue at hand. We need to make sure that all of our bus routes are working and run on time. I will fight to make sure that your bus routes, that your buses come on time, that they are fixed, that they are well running, and that your routes make sense for all students. I will work with sports teams, coaches, extracurriculars, drama teams, math teams, and debate teams to make sure that all of your schedules can fit within this new bell time schedule. I will continue to fight for a schedule that makes sense for all students and isn't weird or doesn't just shift around 20 minutes back and forth. Let's just keep it concise. Let's just make sure that it works for everyone, and that's what I'll be fighting for as SMOB.
Great, thanks Alex. And Matt?
Well, the bell time schedule is fine right where it is. The additional 20 minutes of sleep has proven substantial enough to provide much needed rest and minimal enough to prevent any large-scale inconvenience to after-school activities. When we made the change in 2015, we did so with the faith and the conviction that if we pursued a solution advocated by doctors and universities and students alike, we could improve the health of our student body and make time spent in the classroom more meaningful. Pushing bell times earlier would only reverse that progress, make us sleepier in the morning, and be to all of our detriment. That's why when this issue came up before the Board of Education, I showed up and testified to the importance of us being well rested. But we're still not there yet in terms of all of us getting enough sleep. And oftentimes this stems from an excessive workload. That's why as SMOB, I'll push to add a task force that examines the role of homework and outlines how we can reduce unnecessary busy work and make the homework we do more meaningful and productive.
Thank you both. Serving as a student member of the board requires having a full-time job in addition to being a student. You have to balance both being a board member, its responsibilities, and also being a student and the responsibilities that come with everyday life in school. How would you maintain this balance, and what might you need to sacrifice in order to serve the students most effectively if you were elected? And for this question, we're going to start with Matt.
Well, serving on the Board of Education is an important responsibility and requires the full attention of the next SMOB. Because I've worked so closely with former SMOBs as a chief of staff, I understand what it takes to do an effective job and get things done. And as an individual student advocate, I've already had to make sacrifices to maximize the time and energy that I spend fighting for you. Because I believe so strongly in face-to-face communication, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, whether it be taking a partial schedule or just missing class, so I can be in your schools as often as I can listening to you. If I'm elected SMOB, serving you will always be my #1 priority.
Thanks. And Alex?
I am 100% committed to this position. In the past 2 months of campaigning, I have already made over 75 individual school visits to all of your schools. Besides, I've already been fighting full-time for you in the past. I've worked with Congressman John Delaney, with state senators and local representatives, and I've done all of this while balancing school, my sports, and my work. My commitment is to you, and if I win SMOB, I will make sure to do whatever is necessary to represent you the best. Not only that, I will take any time that I need to visit you in your schools on social media and keep engaged with you. I will make sure, if you elect me, that my senior year is only devoted to serving you as the next SMOB. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex. Our next question surrounds mental health. What steps will you take to better support students suffering from depression, anxiety, or other mental health-related problems? And we're going to start again with you, Alex.
This is a very serious issue. When a student struggles to find time to go visit with their counselor to talk about their issues, you know there's a big problem in our county. Funding to increase the number of counselors at each school is very important, but more importantly, making sure that there are teachers and trained professionals ready to recognize the signs of mental illness. We need to make sure that there's also an environment of community, and I have been fighting for that as my student union chair for the past several years. We will make sure that we have a tolerant, a good atmosphere in our schools where every student feels safe to go to their counselors, to go to their teachers, and talk about any problems they might have.
Matt?
Well, one of the saddest parts of this campaign for me has been going into the schools where students have slipped through the cracks of this system that's supposed to protect us and taken their own lives. We should be training every teacher to recognize the signs of depression so they can step in and get anyone who is suffering the help that they need. We also have to adjust our early health curriculum to cover mental health in a more meaningful way, so everybody can understand that it's okay to reach out and get support. That has to be our ultimate goal, to destigmatize this issue and prevent another tragedy. I've worked with delegates and advocates in the state legislature to pass a bill on both of those fronts, and as SMOB, I will fight every day to make sure that none of us have to suffer in silence.
Thank you both. During our politically tumultuous times, discrimination and hate-based crimes based on race, gender, and sexual orientation have risen substantially in our schools and throughout our county. We have not been immune. What actions will you take to ensure an inclusive and fair learning environment for all students? We're going to start with Matt for this question.
Well, I've been deeply disturbed by some of the hateful instances that have taken place across the county. We have to say, and MCPS has to say unequivocally, that hate has no place in the classroom, no place in our schools, and no place in the county. Our system has to say unequivocally that it's going to stand up for all of us, regardless of our race or our gender or our sexuality. And I really believe that education has a role to play in stomping out that hate and prejudice that seeks to divide us. As SMOB, I'll push to add cultural proficiency training to yearly teacher trainings and to our curriculum. When we read texts from diverse authors and have conversations about our unique backgrounds, we gain a better understanding not only of our differences, but what unites us as people, our commonalities. Our diversity is a strength, and as SMOB, I will always make sure that our educational policy echoes that core belief.
And Alex?
In Montgomery County, we are diverse, and this is a strength. We are proud to welcome everyone regardless of their race, background, sexual orientation, and gender, and I will not stop until all students feel safe in our schools. I have fought in the past on the national and state level with our representatives to make sure that hate has no place in the great state of Maryland. I will continue this fight, using my student union and all programs that I can to make sure that school is a safe environment for every student regardless of who they are. I will make sure and I will not stop until thousands of students are brought together in a countywide movement to make sure that everyone is being represented, everyone feels safe, and their voices are being heard. Most importantly, I will empower the Minority Scholars Program and other such programs to fight this institutional hatred at the local level and countywide. And by doing this, we can finally begin to eradicate the stain of hate that has been so pervasive in some places in our county.
As a student member of the board, you are expected to represent what will be over 160,000 students in Montgomery County Public Schools? How will you communicate with students to ensure that you are truly representing their opinions and concerns? And we're going to start with Alex.
While previous SMOBs have tried to communicate using SMOB letters or SMOB videos, those efforts have been largely ineffective. How many people actually read this SMOB letter? I'll use the money that we spend on printing these pieces of paper and put it to better use. Through my social media campaigns, I've already been able to reach tens of thousands of students weekly and even daily. Through Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we've been able to ask people their input and make sure we have a grassroots movement to fight for change. But I want to hear from you in person, and that's more important to me. I will visit every single one of your schools in my term and make sure that you're heard in person. I will visit these schools every single day and make sure that do hundreds of school visits. Now, this is a noble goal, but trust I can do this because I have already made over 70 school visits this campaign season alone, with dozens more to come. Thank you.
And Matt?
Over the past couple months, as I've traveled across the county and visited every single one of our schools, I hear constantly from students who feel forgotten, who feel left out of the decision-making process. And I understand that a lot of us feel that way. That's why as SMOB, my priority will be getting out into schools and speaking to you in person twice a week. I've always believed that small, personal, and meaningful conversations are the best way for me to understand your concerns and your ideas. I'll also make sure that my communication comes in a variety of languages so that all of us can have a say on what's going on in the county. I also worked with our SMOB last year to create the most diverse SMOB advisory council ever, and I'd like to do the same again next year, drawing from our diverse student population from all over the county, our artists and our athletes and our SGA folk, and I want that council to report directly to the superintendent so that we have a real voice in the decision-making process.
Great. And our last question is, what do you believe is the most pressing issue facing MCPS today, and what steps will you take to solve it? Matt?
I have a couple small-scale reforms for day one. I'll work in the policy committee to allow every middle schooler to use their cell phone during lunch, to remove the Wi-Fi blocks on social media and games, to form a task force that will reform discriminatory dress codes. I believe we need to shine more light on mental health issues and work to destigmatize depression. And in county curriculum and class offerings, our education system should prepare us not only for college, but for the real world and career. But most importantly, and what really motivates me, is a belief in education as an equalizer. The idea that in this county, we should all have a fair shot for success, regardless of where we come from or what we look like. That's why I'm such a firm believer in stronger early education, cultural proficiency training, and funding equity. We have more work to do to break down institutional barriers, lift up our ESOP peers, and open more doors of opportunity for all of us. As SMOB, your priorities will be my priorities. And I have no doubt that if we come together around our common ideals, we can get these things done.
Alex?
In this election, there are two clear paths: more of the same, or finally progressive change. My campaign is for all of you who are watching and feel neglected in your schools and who feel like all you get is broken promises. It's for those who feel like their communities and their schools have not been taken care of in the past. I will change that. Once and for all, we will begin to improve your broken buildings, bathrooms, gyms, athletic equipment. A vote for me is a vote for better school lunches. And a vote for me is a vote for better Wi-Fi, unblocked Wi-Fi, and cell phones at middle school lunches. A vote for me means feeling safe in your schools and having access to counselors and all of the education that you need. You were promised much of this in the past, but what have you gotten? This is what inspired me to run both years. With my experience getting things done at the local level, we can achieve these goals and make sure that it is done in a creative and fast way. I'll be the change that you can rely on, the change you can trust. If you vote for me, I'll get going on day one. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Alex. That's all the time we have for questions today. If you would like to hear more from our two candidates, we encourage you to invite them to your schools prior to the April 26th election. And now, we're going to hear closing statements from each of our candidates. Matt will go first.
This is our moment. Today, the policies that we pursue and the values that we choose to uphold will decide not only our education, but that of our little brothers and sisters for decades to come. So let's use this moment to create an education system where everybody has a fair shot, where cell phone rights during lunch are ensured and discriminatory dress codes are eliminated, where Wi-Fi blocks are removed and we invest in our ESOP programs. Above all, you deserve a SMOB who can make it happen. As Chief of Staff to our SMOB, Eric Gersey, and Vice President of the County SGA, I understand what it takes to move us forward. And I'll be ready on day one to fight for you and bring about progress. But I need your help. I need you to make our student body's voices heard, to stand up for what unites us in the face of so much division. In Montgomery County, we may not all come from the same place, or speak the same language, or look the same, but we are one student body, determined to create a better future for all of us. And I'm asking for your vote today in this moment, because our time to create that better future is right now. Thanks so much.
And now we're going to hear from Alex.
This year, I'm back and more ready to fight than ever. I am the candidate that will make a tangible impact on your school lives, an impact that you will see every day. I will keep my promises like I have done in the past. From my first month to my last, I will work for you. We will get food trucks and open lunch at every possible high school. We will unblock the Wi-Fi for all students and end the social media restrictions. I will make deals with middle school principals to give all of you cell phones during lunch unlike the past and rebuild and improve all of your school's bathrooms, water fountains, fields, and athletic equipment. I say this because I've been fighting locally for you for years. Founding the largest ever student advocacy organization with thousands of members, I've been able to fight for change locally and win. If you elect me, I will bring that experience countywide. All of you watching this, from all corners of our county, how long have you been neglected? How long have you been promised change and felt nothing? If you elect me, together we will change all of that. We will finally empower those left behind by the system to stand up. On Election Day, join the fight. Vote Alex for SMOB.
Thank you, Alex and Matt. Please remember to think about who you think would best represent you, and be sure to exercise your right to vote on April 26th. Thank you, and have a great rest of your semester.
Thanks for watching Meet the Candidates. My name is Prim Punsomwet, and I am the president of the Montgomery County Regional Student Government Association, or MCR, the county-level student government representing all 45,000 MCPS high school students and 25 high school student governments. MCR's Special Elections Committee is student-run, and we organize the entire SMOB election process. With over 88,000 eligible voters, the MCPS SMOB election offers students a unique opportunity to have a direct say in who represents their concerns and opinions on the Board of Education. The scale of this election is larger than the election of most local officials across the country. The democratic process works best when voters are informed, so we urge you to get educated about both candidates. Focus on the solutions and views that they have to offer, and choose the candidate who you feel will best represent all student voices in MCPS. This year, MCR student leaders have accomplished so much to improve education in Montgomery County and all through Maryland. We've testified for a state bill that would require the incorporation of affirmative consent in our family life and human sexuality curriculum. We've pushed for a bigger operating budget to support student leadership, ESOL programs, and mental health support systems. We're running a grant program to give funds to student clubs in need, and that's only the beginning of the work that we're doing and that needs to be done. If you're interested in learning about and advocating for better education policies in our county, tackling issues like the achievement gap and representing the student voice, be sure to follow MCR SGA on Facebook or Twitter. If you have any concerns or questions about school policies, the SMOB election, or ways to get involved, all information is on our website, mcrsga.com. Thanks, and we wish you the best of luck in evaluating the candidates for the next student member of the board.